to work with Neon Poly. Now I don't work anywhere, I just travel. Okay, so I just want to tell you a little story. My wife is from Japan, and is Kanti here? No, she's not here. So there was this friend of mine, she's from Thailand. She went to Japan, she met my wife. She came back and she told me, like, you're so ugly. How come your wife is so pretty? It's like, how can you get, like, you're such ugly, fat guy, no brains. How can you get such a smart wife? So actually, I was also confused. So I went back and I asked my wife, like, why did you marry me? It's like, like your friend said. So she said, yeah, when girls look at guys, they look at they make a matrix, they tick, tick, tick. Everything was bad, but at least you like history. My wife is a big history fan. So she said, at least there was one saving grace. You like history, so it was okay. I could overlook the other bad things. So I was thinking, it's like, why do I like history so much? And one of the reasons is I studied in Bombay in India. Now it's called Mumbai. But we hardcore people still call it Bombay because that's where I was born in. So I studied in a public school where the fees was like 10 cents every month. It was very cheap because the state funds these schools. And we had a history teacher. She was probably not making more than like 40 or 50 US dollars a month. I mean, those days in India, it was still a decent amount of money. You could survive. And the way she used to teach history was, it was also a very interesting experience for us because all this while, people used to come to class, they would let us read a book, and that's it. And you have to go and give your test. She came to the class, the first day of class. We had to study, that year we were studying about France, and we are studying Napoleon's campaigns. And she came to the class and she said, let's just close our books. There's no point. Like, just hide your books, keep it in your bag. And just, just like, I'm sorry, what's your name?
Zachary.
Zachary, just like what Zachary did now. She made us huddle together. And then she said, you're Napoleon. You are the Tsar of Russia. You are the German general. And these are your advisors. Okay, now Napoleon, this is the temperature in Europe right now. This much food you have. You got to attack Russia. And you Russian guys, these guys are going to attack you. You got to stop yourself from attacking. You hate the Germans, but still they have something they can help you with. So you got to discuss something among you and discuss with the Germans. So that's the way she did her class. And then, the rest of the class, rest of like 20, 25 minutes, we did our discussions. And then, like, finally, she asked everyone to explain, like, okay, how will you attack Germany? How will you attack France? And what will you do? And people would, like, share their ideas. Then she said, now do you really want to know what happened? And by this time, we are so curious that we want to open the book and read what actually happened. So again, this is like, she had no technology. She had, I would say, even like a book is a technology, or storytelling is a technology. And she got us so interested in history. And it's like almost 30 years now since that happened. But I'm still so interested in history. I still find something, I'll go and read. I went to China, I lived in China for a few years, and I can tell you the name of all the dynasties. Don't ask me right now. Okay, so what I realized is, and then since the last 1 year, I've been traveling. I went to quite a few different countries. I went to the Middle East, to Taiwan, to Philippines. I met a lot of different groups. And I realized that, teachers have tricks, like my history teacher. She had a trick to make history more interesting than any other subject. We would want all of the teachers to go away. We want the entire day to be a history class because her way of teaching was so interesting. So teachers have all these tricks. I'm sure there's a physics teacher who can throw a kid from a building. If the kid falls down, how many fingers he breaks or how many arms. You can tell, like, what is you can calculate G equals something. So teachers have interesting ideas. But the problem is, like, we don't have an avenue or a platform to share it. Like maybe in Singapore now we have EDSG, so the teachers can share it. But what is the other way? We can share, everybody's learning the same physics. Everybody's learning almost the same history. Well, China and Japan disagree about that, but most of the people are learning like similar histories or similar maths, similar subjects. But we still don't have a broader international way, other than if you spend a lot of money and come to a conference. So I was thinking about that. And like I said, now I work with a small startup. And what they asked me to do is to do some research, but I still have a lot of time on the hand, and I have a lot of developers I can tap on to build these ideas. So I keep thinking, like, what is the way I can connect teachers around the world together? So I want to ask you, like, would you want to, first of all, would you want to connect with other teachers in other countries? Do you think it's a good idea? Yeah? How about like say connecting students, like getting students to do some assignments together or something in different countries?
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Give them a much wider exposure to different culture differences.
Yeah, yeah. And then if possible, also like, we could do like some kind of, if they really like each other, they're not fighting with each other, then we could even have like some kind of an exchange program where they can go and visit. So recently we tried that. We got an early childhood teacher from Singapore to come to Cambodia. Something very interesting happened. She spent like 2 weeks in Cambodia, and now she wants to start her own company doing training consultancy for everybody. Because she saw like it's so interesting, like so many people are opening schools in Cambodia, but they don't have pedagogical knowledge. So from a teacher, she tries to become a business person now because she can see the potential. So I've been trying to look at like ideas by which we can do something. So one of the small project I did is, I don't want to sell it or something, but if you find it interesting, you can participate. Anyway, it's free, so I'm not going to charge for it. It's called One Big Planet. What I'm trying to do is connect kids in different countries together. So if we just have a simple forum. Right now we just start with a forum. So don't worry about this invite code. You type anything here, you'll be invited. It's a fake invite code. Okay, so I'll just show you. So right now I have students from Taiwan, Vietnam, Mongolia, and Singapore here, some schools in Singapore. So this is a Taiwanese kid. So what I do is every week I post a question and I ask them to post a picture and talk about their neighborhood or their lives. So the idea is that students in Vietnam and students in Taiwan will understand each other's lives. So many people have tried projects like this, but I think they have not sustained because those people were not educators. Skype is trying, Microsoft owns Skype, Google is trying, but I think they are like technology company which comes and tries to do something and then they go away. But I'm hoping like I'll be around until the end of time, posting questions here and getting students to participate. The other thing we do is, so like the unconference part. So I help put up a lot of unconferences around Southeast Asia. So if you have time, you can look up this page, barcampsingapore.com. So there's a whole listing. So if let's say you're traveling in Vietnam, and if you see there's something happening, come and join us. We have like, depending on the place, in Singapore we get about 700 people, in Myanmar we get 6,000 people who come on a Saturday or a Sunday. We steal a campus. We don't ask them officially because then it's boring. We just go and take over a campus on a Saturday or a Sunday. We put up a few classes, and what people do is they just write down their topic, post it up on the wall. You can talk about anything, from science to technology to travel, and then there is this kind of, we are very low tech, we just use like paper voting. And then people just sit around and have discussions. So if you're traveling to neighboring countries, just look up if we have a barcamp going on, come and join us. So you'll meet everybody. So one other thing I realized is that being in education, we try a lot to change the education system. But the thing is that at the end of it, the kid will go home and the parents will influence the kid a lot. Like let's say we talk about racism. We tell kids to be equal to everybody. But when they go home and the parents are talking bad about somebody, it destroys everything. So what I was thinking is like, if we want to change the education system, we got to change the whole society. We got to make like everybody else in the city come to the school. The school should not be a stranger to others. So that's one of the reasons why we do these events. Okay, so the next one is going to be in Mongolia in 4 weeks' time. So if you're coming, you can join us. So thank you. Yeah.